I walk into this cat office with a Hawaiian shirt on and like board shorts and flip flops. Looking through, and he's like, Matthew, all you have to do on this one is like 2 things. Why aren't you? And it just went through all of them, all 30 of them. All these that you've inspected, if you don't have them done by the end of today, I have to take all your files away and send you home.
In a world where you can be anything, be an adjuster. This video is sponsored by the Adjuster TV Plus app for iOS and Android phones and tablets. Download for free now in the App Store or Google Play.
Well, it's kind of a similar experience. I think it could be
Most of us.
yeah, universal experience for adjusters. You know, it's a little bit of overconfidence in the beginning, and then the realization that you could drown at any second. So my first storm. Basically, my sister lived in LA, and I was out there visiting her kind of long-term, just kind of hanging out at her place. So I was sort of, I was trying to get work doing video production stuff. But Pilot, a friend of mine who had done a storm or two with Pilot, called and said, hey, there was a big hailstorm in Chicago, and it was a huge hailstorm in Chicago. In 2000, and he's like, you should call because they asked me if I knew anybody and da da da. Right, so it's a big storm, which I don't think otherwise I wouldn't be able to get onto it. So I called Pilot and basically begged them because they were like, "Do you have any experience?" I was like, "Well, no, but I'm certified and I'm, whatever." And of course, Illinois doesn't have a license, so I didn't have any licenses, and they're like, "Well, you think you can get there in the next day or two?" And I was like, yes. They're like, okay, well, then you can go. So come on, get up there. And so I jumped in my car and drove to Chicago from Los Angeles. I had a year or 2 or 3 before that, I had quit smoking and had gained a bunch of weight. So I was like 225 pounds, which right now I'm like 185, right? So I was a little fluffy, to say the least. But I drove. It took me 36 hours to get there. I took 1 4-hour break where I took a nap in like Burlington, Colorado, or in the truck's rest stop or whatever. And then I just drove straight to the cat office to check in, right? Because they said, well, you're going to need to go get your shirts and your door magnets and all that stuff. And so I walk into this State Farm cat office with a Hawaiian shirt on and like board shorts and flip flops. And if you know anything,
that didn't go over well.
Yeah, that was I walked in, kicked the door open, and I was like, here I am, and like people were standing around or working on the phone or like talking to each other or whatever, and they all looked at me and it just was complete silence just for a second. The #1 resource for damage identification books, trainings, and certifications is Hague Education. Not only that, but they provide building inspection and desk adjuster trainings and certifications for those as well. Get a discount on all books, tools, certifications, and other trainings with code AdjusterTV at checkout at HagueEducation.com. Then they all went back to work, but one guy was still looking at me, and I looked at him, and he pointed at me and did this and pulled me into a side off. He's like, "Who are you?" Told him who I was, and he just, dressed me down top to bottom. You don't ever go into a Pilot cat office with any carrier at any time without your storm shirts on and your khaki pants and your not tennis shoes and whatever. He's like, get up there and get your stuff and don't ever come back in here without your khaki pants and you come back and meet your manager and blah, blah, blah. So that was my very first, broke the cardinal rule. It was.
Right.
So.
How would you know?
How would I know?
You were just showing up.
It's just,
I'm ready.
I'm ready. Let's do this. I'm the guy. And so, back then you got a file jacket that you filled up, right? And it had the insured's information on it and their phone number, whatever, and then you could fill out all the things.
Right.
And so they handed me my 20 or 25, I don't even know how many they gave me at first. But they also set me up with those re-inspector trainers. They call them RTs. And I had 2, this was, I think for me, was kind of serendipity, and it was something that it would have been way harder to be successful if I hadn't had this. And it was 2 weeks. I had a lady named Nancy help me with my first week or so. And then a guy named Kirk helped me out for the next week or so until I was like able to close the claim, talk to the homeowner, write the check, fill out the the ledger thing, and do all the handwrite the activity diary, handwrite the labels on the photos and staple them on there.
Exactly.
Polaroids, right? And you got that giant Polaroid camera and it's banging on the rungs as you're going up the ladder. It was, and so
When we quit using them, I had like 6 Polaroid cameras in my garage.
right.
When digital came out, I'm like, what am I going to do with these things?
And then the digital camera that they gave you after that was this giant Mavic Sony thing that banged on the rungs when you went
And had the 3x5 card that slid into it.
Yeah,
Remember that?
and then they had the long memory sticks. Anyway, so my very first inspection though was with Nancy, and she's standing there talking to the homeowner in the front yard, and she's like, "Matt, go ahead and set your ladder up, and we'll get started on this inspection, and I'll show you the ropes and da da da." And so I had this folding ladder that I was pulling the wrapper off of, and I'd never used before. It was what was the name of it? I forget the name of it. It was a brand, they don't make them anymore, but I really like the way the latches work. They don't do them this way anymore. It's like a lever, like an arm. And so I set this thing up, put it on the gutter on the front porch, and probably had it upside down because it had like a bar that went across the bottom. You're supposed to be on the bottom. And she's like, "All right, after you." And so I put my hand on it to like, take a step or whatever, and I kind of pushed on it a little bit, and the whole thing folded in half and fell over into the front yard. And I was like, my face turned bright red. There's only one company that provides E&O and general liability insurance solely to the claims industry, and that's Kaplik. They even have drone and cyber coverages. Download the free guide all about the different kinds of insurance that you, as the adjuster, should carry at cplic.net/adjustertv. I got like probably 2.5 weeks into that storm, and I hadn't really closed many claims. And I got the same thing. My manager, like every morning, so back then on that file jacket, there were like these barcode stickers. And you had to put those on a sheet and fax it to your manager every single day. And one of them was for the inspection and one of them was for closed, right? Or basically closed. Inspected and closed report. Matthew.
Inspected, and closed.
Yeah, I need to see your contacted, inspected, and closed, whatever sheet. You didn't give me yours from yesterday. I still need that one. I need yours for today, And it was a lot of contacted and inspected, but not very many closed. And so called me up early. This dude called me like 5:30 in the morning every morning, literally every morning. He's like, "Matthew, I need you to come into the office, bring all your files with you, and we're gonna do open file review." And I was like, "What's that? I don't even know."
Right.
And so
I think they did that to just scare us.
Yeah, well, it worked.
Right. It worked for me too.
So I go in there and he's like, "All right, first thing you need to do is how many appointments do you have today?" And I think I had like 3 or something like that. He's like, "You need to call and reschedule those or cancel them." I think is what he said. And he's like, and then we went through all my files one by one. He's like, "What are we doing on this one?" He's looking through and he's like, "Matthew, all you have to do on this one is like 2 things. Why aren't you, this one you can finish in 5 minutes." And it just went through all of them, all 30 of them. He's like, all these that you've inspected, however many there were, I don't even know how many there were. He's like, if you don't have them done by the end of today, I have to take all your files away and send you home. And I was like, okay, because I was kind of starting to like feel like I was starting to like figure a few things out. So I didn't want to go. And so I was like, okay. And so I did it. And by the end of the day, turned them all into him. And he sat there and he with his red pen, and he looked through all of them. And a couple I had to do corrections on or whatever, but I got them all done. I got to stay on the storm. I ultimately stayed there. I was there for 7 or 8 weeks, and I did 122 claims, which, for my first storm, I thought was pretty good.
That's good.
And I left. They didn't want me to leave, but I was so stressed that I had a legit twitch in my eye, and it drove me nuts because it just was. I'm sitting there talking to the homeowner. I had to wear my sunglasses because it was like this, like all day long, every single day. I had an abscess tooth, and I was overweight, and I was like, I was eating McDonald's breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I was a mess, and I was like, I don't know that I can handle this anymore. So I was like, I'm just gonna wrap up what I got and just release. I don't want to do this.
They were asking you to stay for claims,
and they wanted me to stay. They wanted me to just keep handling new claims and whatever. And so I begged off on it. But that was, yeah, the first storm. And when I drove away from that storm, I was looking in the rearview mirror, like watching Chicago disappear, into the cornfields. And I was like, I'm never doing that again. And the next spring they called and I was like, yep, I'll be there. And then the next storm was infinity easier than that first storm. Are you ready to help people recover from natural disasters? Learn how to get started as an adjuster in this next video right here.